Hey everyone, welcome back to the Comic-Con podcast. This is season 2, episode 25. We're recording today, June 23rd. This will be dropping June 24th. And like always, it's me, Zach, aka The Manimal, and my good friend Justin, aka Nemesis Prime. What's up, dog?
Yo, what's going on, Zach? We are episode 25. That means we're just about halfway through the year. We are 1 month away from Terrificon.
Ooh.
Here for talking comic books. Love it.
Man, we got to start coming up. We got to start coming up with some good plans for comic or for Terrificon, like in terms of like what we're gonna do. The bull. I forgot about the bull. The bull, and then we got to come up with some other ideas, like stuff with the podcast though, like good podcast ideas. Like we're gonna go live. What are we gonna do? I know we'll have some.
That sounds good. You know, you and I'll think of things, but of course, our listeners. Let us know what you want to see at Terrificon while we're out there. You know, send us a message, obviously, on Instagram or an email to the comicconpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. So, send us some good ideas, and we'll try to come up with some fun things we can do while we're together at Terrificon and things we can show you. But today, we have an action-packed show. We've got 2 community questions, we've got 2 reviews, and we have 2 articles and what we are currently reading. So, let's jump right into it. Like always, the Comic-Con podcast, all about the comic community. And we're going to start with some questions. I think, Justin, you got 2 of them. You got both of them, but go ahead and start with whichever one.
So our first one's coming from my man, Dan, DOR627 on Instagram. He's a fellow Whatnot buyer from me for the past couple months over on the Whatnot platform. Of course, you know, Star Wars books, and we're always chatting via DMs. And he actually had a really good question. That's, you know, something that is brought to, you know, something's kind of new if you're not used to doing this. But his topic for this week's article is, you know, advice for people that are looking to make money by selling comics as beginners. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people are just readers. And if you want to get into selling, how do you get into selling? Right, Zach?
Right. I mean, and it can be a little daunting these days, you know, obviously with the creation of Whatnot, the selling landscape has changed tremendously. So I mean, it's always a good thing to refresh and talk about. And I definitely, for you, who's the more active seller out of the 2 of us, I mean, I'll talk about the eBay stuff a little bit, but why don't you jump into how you sell?
Well, I wouldn't even think about it as a Whatnot seller. Like, I still think this is we got to go back to basics, right? So Obviously it's very tough to become a seller right now on Whatnot. There are a lot of sellers on there, but I think, and this was something that I really thought about for a while. Dan's question. We really appreciate Dan. Thank you so much for sending this in. And I think the first thing you really need to make sure you can understand and grab is condition on books. Like being able to grade a book, right? Like when you first get a book, obviously if it's a modern book, something that's like 2005, 2010 and up, you should be able to consider it near mint or nicer, near mint plus. But something maybe like in the Bronze Age, you know, Copper Age, you know, be able to actually look at books and figure out how you can grade them, because obviously you're the one who's going to be affected, right? You're going to list it online. And if you call this book VF or near mint and it's only like a fine, of course, yeah, you may be like, oh man, I got a great price on this. I sold it really well. But then once the buyer gets it, he's going to be upset because your grading was way off. And don't get me wrong, for the most part, grading is subjective to everybody, but you know, even for myself, I spent quite a long time, maybe going back about, you know, almost 7, 8 years. I used to work at my local comic shop, you know, on like once a week. Then it became like 2 to 3 days a week, you know, after work. And I spent a lot of time looking at comics, grading them with my local comic shop owner, which is Clockwork Comics and Cards in Union, New Jersey. And, you know, because I would look at the books, I'd have to take pictures. We would list them on eBay, or like when we were putting them up on the wall. And that's where it really comes from. You really need to be able to get that, you know, fine tuning, like look at each book. Like it's not just like, hey, I'm looking at the front cover. All right, there's no spine ticks. But that's really I think that's like the first step, is being able to grade a book if it's raw, of course.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely have to know what you're grading, because that changes the price, right? I mean, obviously, if you're in the near mint, you can ask for a little bit higher price. If you are in the middle grades, you know, it has to adjust. So you're right. That's definitely the thing I struggle with the most, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's books that even you've sent to me, and you're like, I think this is like a 9.8 candidate, and then it doesn't come back 9.8, and you're like, damn, what the hell did I miss? You know, for me, again, and that's from my long time knowledge and training myself to look at books to know what I feel like could be a 9.8 at least, or is it at least a 9.6. I recently just got back a batch from CGC, all modern 9.8s, first time achievement. Thank God, after God knows how many hundreds of submissions that weren't pre-screening 9.8. It was just it was 12 books. Got them all back in 9.8s, which was amazing.
You had a couple close ones where you just had one off too, right?
Oh yeah, like
super frustrating, right?
9.4, 9.6, and that just like irks you because you're like, Jesus, I really wanted that perfect 9.8.
Right.
And yeah, I've sent in like even sometimes just sending in like 1 or 2 books or 10 or 15. Like I still have never gotten a perfect invoice until this past week. So obviously that's the first thing is grading, and then another thing I think is you really don't want to lot out your books, especially non-keys, right? Like if it's not a book that you feel like could get $5 or $10, you got to stick a couple books in there, right? Like, so maybe sequential numbers. So if you're talking Batman, like, all right, so Batman, obviously I'm going to go stupid like this. We're going to go Batman 121 first, Mr. Freeze. Yeah, you could sell that on its own. But then, like, obviously this is also Silver Age, but like 122, 123, 124, they're non-keys. Obviously, yeah, they're Silver Age. You could sell them for good money by themselves. But if they're non-key issues or classic covers or variants or anything like that, I feel like that's the way sometimes you have to do it, is you have to be able to lot out your books, because you also don't want to send out multiple, you want to send out one invoice to one person or one package for one comic when at least you could just get rid of 3 at a time, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to sweeten up the deal, so to speak. I mean, you
Yep.
always have those runs you look at, you always have keys, right? And a lot of runs have more keys than some, but then you're gonna have at some point in a run, you're gonna have about 10 to 20 books that are just, for lack of a better word, filler books, right? And so you gotta try to get rid of them. I do a lot of lots. I primarily sell in lots, as in like a complete run of books. So
Mhm.
that's really my go-to thing. Is I wait till a run is finished, I package them all up, and then I sell as a whole. I think the other thing too when pricing is you can't look at the books and be like, okay, like for example, you look at different pricing sites, cover price, key collector, whatever you want to look at, and let's say book says, oh, it's selling for $25 right now. My suggestion is always come in there a little bit less. You know what you paid for it. Go a little bit higher, but go and be willing to settle for a little bit less than what it is, unless it's a key book, like Justin
Mhm.
said, like a Mr. Freeze or something. But always the idea is also not, it's in my opinion, and I could be wrong, a lot of people probably might disagree with me, it isn't maximize the amount of profit on each book. It's more, I think, more with quantity, right? Like, and I think you do too as well, right? Like you're like, hey, I buy all these books and shit, I might buy them for $5 and I only may sell them for $10, but that was 50 books. I made $5 a book on 50 books. I
Yep.
mean, that's quite a bit of money. That's $250 right there. So you got to think about the profit in the long term, not necessarily on like $5 profit doesn't seem like a lot for one single book. But if you do it 50 times, that's quite a bit of
Mhm.
profit.
Yep. Maximize that time is 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, even if you started off, even if you start the books off at what you paid for them, at least if it sells, one, you're getting your money back, but I'm sure you're not going to just get what you paid for it. You know, Selling on eBay, another thing is obviously time,
Right.
setting it at the right time. You don't want to have a listing end at like 10, 11 a.m. on the East Coast, because on the West Coast, people are sleeping. Overseas, people are probably sleeping or some weird time. So you got to pick your time. I typically have my auctions end at like anytime between 9 and 11 o'clock at night here on the East Coast, which is obviously a good time for West Coasters, kind of after dinner. And then obviously overseas is all over the place, kind of. What about you? What do you think of
Yes.
advice for new people to sell?
So for eBay, I don't do a ton of auctions on eBay. I pretty much just do buy it nows. Um, and it really just comes to you. It comes up like what you're really looking for. So for me, of course, I love the profit as much as the next guy. But for me, I'm trying to get rid of stuff. So when I sell those lots that I'm talking about, if I can break at about, 66, two-thirds, if I can get two-thirds of the price I paid for the books, I'm happy. You know what I mean? That's money back that I can spend. I reinvest in other comic books and I clear out space. I read the books, I got rid of the books, I moved them. I think also the thing about eBay that's good is everyone's on there, right? Everyone has eBay. Okay.
Mhm.
So you'll always do well on eBay. But the downside to eBay is it's like Justin said, it's kind of time consuming. So you never know how long it's going to take to sell your book. And honestly, like sometimes I'll sell a book that's, it'll sell like the day after I list it. Other times I've had books that have been listed for damn near a year and then finally sell. And I'm like, holy shit. Like I actually sold some garbage 4-issue run that I think I've had listed for damn near probably 3 or 4 years and it finally sold. So, you're just like, well, okay, good. Here, that's gone. But, list all your things, sit on it. The other thing I really suggest, what I always do is when someone watches your item on eBay, that then allows you to send them an offer. And I immediately take advantage of that. Pretty much I wake up every day and the first thing I do in the morning, I check my eBay. I see if I have an ability to send an offer to someone and I shoot them an offer. So the other thing, last thing I'll say about eBay is take into account that the shipping costs and the fact that you get taxed on everything. So you sell a book for $20, your shipping cost is $25. They don't tax you for $20. They tax you for the full $25. So adjust your shipping to mitigate your costs. Everyone calls it FeeBay. Everything's higher on eBay, but that's because you have to offset the cost of eBay. So, as you're a buyer on eBay, you need to obviously understand that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just kind of some, brief things. Dan, we really appreciate the question. It's a great topic here. I mean, we could obviously spend the entire episode talking about trying like ways to sell and the pros and cons. Like, people obviously, yes, I'm a big advocate of Whatnot right now, but look at it this way. Whatnot is like me as a fisherman throwing my bait into a lake, or I could throw my fishing rod with the bait into the ocean, which is eBay. Mm-hmm. And how many more fish am I going to get in the ocean compared to a lake, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, the key or the good thing about Whatnot is it's fast. It's definitely faster, right?
Yep.
But you're kind of taking some hits on prices on your books too at times. So,
yeah, of course. And again, that's if you decide, are you trying to maximize your profit, or are you just trying to make a profit, right?
Exactly.
So, great question, Dan. Thank you so much. Let's get on to our next question. And this is coming from our buddy Jimmy at Hard Knocks Collectibles over on Instagram as well. He goes, hey, guys, question for the show. With Marvel getting the rights to Planet of the Apes, do you guys think any of it has any legs? Also, your opinion on Marvel working on Predator now. I think it's a great for the Predator franchise, but I'm not sure about the Planet of the Apes. Great job, fellas. Keep up the good work. At this rate, you'll be legends in no time. Ha ha.
Wow. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead. You want to take the Planet of the Apes? I know you said.
Yeah. To be honest, I actually missed that article. I didn't know that they picked up the rights to Planet of the Apes. I am a massive Planet of the Apes fan. When I was a kid, I remember it must have been like, I'm probably going to get the year wrong, but let's say like it's some kind of year anniversary of Planet of the Apes. And I remember on one of the movie channels, they played all 5 original Planet of the Apes movies like back to back. And I would watch those all the time. I recorded them on VHS. That's how old I am. And I remember my parents got me, the box set of Planet of the Apes VHS, all 5 of the originals. Charlton Heston, the best. I love.
Where was it previously? I forget from Marvel. Was it Boom or Dark Horse? Like the most recent series?
That's a good question. I'm gonna look it up. I think maybe it was Dark Horse.
Maybe Boom. I feel like I remember a crossover with Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I
remember what
though. Anyway, I love Planet of the Apes, and of course, I am, definitely a little biased. I think Marvel is my favorite publisher, so I'm excited. Like that's great for me that they're going to come to Marvel because I just feel like the better writers on Marvel. I don't know. Maybe people are going to be pissed if I say that. So I'm seeing Boom Studios here. For a previous one. I think there's been a couple though, to be honest. I think it's jumped around as a property for different. Yeah, there's Dark Horse as well.
I feel like some franchises are almost like sports teams, right? Like you get traded. Yeah.
Well, it's probably also like, it's like, hey, we're not going to do anything with this property right now, so go ahead, Yeah. But so I think it's great. I think I think Predator might do really well. Marvel's now got Aliens, right?
Mm-hmm.
I picked up Aliens, so damn, I mean, it's gonna be kind of crazy. If Aliens and Predator both at Marvel, they're gonna go pretty crazy with that. Conan, like when Marvel gets these new properties, they go all in. They went all in on Conan recently, You know, I mean, he's everywhere. They reproduced all of his omnibuses. They were his own titles. He's in like 4 titles. They brought him into the Avengers. You know, I mean, shit. So we'll see what happens, man. I don't know. What do you thought? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. The Planet of the Apes thing, I don't really think it's going to have legs. I don't think it has a cult following, of course, but I don't think it has a following as much as like the Alien franchise, the Predator franchise.
Fair. Yeah.
You know, for Predator, I'm a huge Predator fan. I cannot wait for the Predator movie that's going to be dropping on Hulu over the summer called Prey. I think that's what it's called. I As bad as like the Alien versus Predator movies are, that's something that I always wanted to see. I love playing like those type of games. Anytime when they come out with like an Alien or Predator type game, I'm 100% in typically. The Alien series right now, I don't think it was that good. I tried to read it, and I just think it's tougher because I just don't think the Aliens has a cult following as much as like Predator does. Like Predator's cool, like right compared to like the Alien. I mean, they're both cool,
really?
but
I feel like Alien has a larger following.
I
I mean,
feel like
it's more successful of a property, movie wise.
yeah,
For
because I
sure.
guess it has like the the backing of the like high end actor or
Right.
actresses, right? Like I guess Predator, it's always been like each Predator movie's always just been like a one shot, and there hasn't been like obviously everyone knows Predator 1 for like Arnold, but like if someone's like, oh, who's the main character in like Predator 2 or like even like Predators, remember like and that movie I love, like with Adrian Brody, like that
Actually, it's a
movie
good
was
one. Yeah,
great.
I don't feel like it gets enough credit.
No, absolutely not. So,
I feel like they
you
went
know,
back to basic and they nailed it. You know what I mean? It felt the most like the original Arnold, like the Predator, the
mhm.
original one.
Yeah, and now we got this new series that's going to be like way in the past. Some old school like pre guns and everything, really primordial. So it looks badass. I can't wait to see it. So I think Predator may be a cooler run. They've already started dropping exclusive variants, like I think KRS did, Big Time Collectibles, and a few others. They've already had the series that's coming out over the summer. So I think Predator is going to be good. I think I'm definitely going to be checking out at least like the first couple issues, first story arc, and we'll go from there and like I said earlier, all these different franchises are kind of moving around. We spoke about it
Right.
last week with Transformers, GI Joe. TMNT is kind of I guess stuck where it's at. Star Wars is back at Dark Horse. It's all over. So I guess you need a shakeup because you could get a good writer or artist on the
Yeah.
Marvel side compared to where was it? It was at Dark Horse.
And it could reinvigorate the property a little bit
Exactly.
too. So
yeah, exactly. And obviously it's coming out just in time for the movie too. So they plan these things right. They're smart, without a doubt.
Yep.
So again, Jimmy Hard Knocks, thank you so much for the question. Of course, he just sent it directly to our Instagram, the Comic Con Podcast. Of course, you could always drop us a line there. And of course, Comic Con Podcast at gmail.com is where you could also message us comments, reviews, whatever you want. Let's kind of get
Great questions. Great questions.
Yeah, definitely. Great questions. We appreciate that. And that's what we're here for here in the community. We like listening. We like throwing out some stuff. So, Zach, what do we got?
I think we do Ms. Marvel first because I think we'll have more to talk about since it's the end of Kenobi. Let's do Kenobi last, and let's do Ms. Marvel. Do mid-season review of Ms. Marvel, the 3 episodes. So, you want to start or you want me to start?
I'll go.
Do it.
So, definitely something that I completely didn't think, I was going to like, but I'm loving it. First 2 episodes, really awesome for Kamala Khan. I'm a little biased because, of course, I'm in New Jersey. I got married in Jersey City. Like, there's a lot of cool little references that you see in the backgrounds of New Jersey. So it's really awesome. As far as the storyline, I'm hooked. I definitely enjoy it. The first 2 episodes, I understand that I'm not a teenage girl, so
what?
I once was one, but now I'm no. I think it's cool. Like they're really getting right into her, right? It's not like we're building up for 6 episodes and then finally, like the last episode, we're going to finally see like her abilities. It's going to be like a completely different character.
Yeah.
The first 2 episodes definitely hooked me. This past week's episode, I don't know, episode 3, a little rough changing. We finally get the reveal. And of course, these are spoilers, everyone. So if you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, kind of pin your ears. But her being a Djinn, completely taking away from her Inhumans comic book related Right, source material, origin, and it's crazy because I was reading an article today too that people are upset that the Muslims are upset that
I read
they're
that too.
about her power source, and they're complaining. Oh, do they know who's writing this? Who's directing this? If they actually took like 2 minutes to look up who's writing it, the writer of the series is a British Pakistani person, and then the directors are also from the Arabic world. So maybe you should look that up before you say something.
Right.
But I like Kamala. Again, this is completely different than from what anybody who kind of has been reading the series. I'm not a huge fan of the series, so I only know very little about Kamala Khan, but I enjoy it because again, I can go into it without having to worry too much about it. I feel like this is a great show to not have to worry about spec, which is another great thing with this series. Like I'm not waiting for some random character to show up. I think I would like by the end of the series, probably post-credit scene, episode 6, I would like to see Brie Larson and Carol Danvers kind of show up.
Of course.
I think that would be amazing.
Yeah. Or Monica Rambeau.
Would definitely. Yeah, I think I could probably see that, one or the other, but I like that idea. But yeah, so far, I'd probably give it like a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay.
The first 3 episodes. What about you?
So I'm with you in terms of I don't know a lot about Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. I don't read the books at all. So I kind of, her whole universe, I only know kind of when she shows up on teams. I've read a little bit of Champions here and there. And like, I vaguely know the character, the broad strokes of the character. So I was kind of coming to this pretty new as well. And actually, we've talked about this multiple times on other shows like Sandman and different things that we're looking forward to. It's nice to kind of come into things not really expecting much or expecting anything. But I've enjoyed it. I know we talked about, I don't know if it was on, I think it was on Lords of the Long Box. We talked about how, and it's funny, actually, my wife and I were talking about this, how this last episode, you don't seem to be seeing this much, but what I really liked in the first episode was when she was walking and you see the graphics on like the brick walls and the buildings and stuff. And it really felt like live action Into the Spider-Verse to me. I thought it was kind of like new and it was young, it was fresh kind of take. But I feel like after episode 1, they really did away with that. Like you're not seeing that so much outside of I want to say in episode 3, really maybe like text bubbles, for like text messaging. Yep. And I really think they need to go back to stuff like that. I think you're catering to that young age. It's a coming of age, keep it fun, keep it fresh. And I think you got to do I think they should really lean a little bit more into it. Not a ton. You don't want to overdo it, of course, but I thought that was something cool. I think Iman Vellani is crushing it. I think she's great. She's, probably a perfect Ms. Marvel. She really brings the character to life for someone like me who's not, doesn't know much about Ms. Marvel. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the hardcore fans feel differently, but I don't feel like that. I feel like she's getting a great reception. I'll tell you one of the things I love the most about this show is in the world we live in now, with everything being politicized and, the way we are, sometimes we go into a show where we're talking about like a minority culture and it can lean really heavy, right? Really strong, kind of like shove things down your throat and kind of be aggressive in a defensive way. And I don't feel like this show does that at all. I feel like this show has nailed it right down the middle. And in fact, so much so it's like made me curious about like Pakistani culture. There's things that they say and there's terminology that they use that of course I'm not familiar with. I don't have a lot of experience with the Pakistani culture. And I think it's fun. I love the dynamic of their family. I think their family is amazing. Every single member. I love the mosque and getting to see aspects of that as well. And it's not like, and not to say that we have to defend things like this, but of course you got the crazies out there who would be like, oh God, they're showing us a mosque and they're trying to indoctrinate us or something. They're not. They're totally not. Like, I feel like they're just showing you like, this is her culture. This is her person. And these are the things that define her and make her. And I think they nailed it. I thought it was great. I was worried that it would get a little politicized. And I think it was episode 3, right? When Damage Control showed up to the mosque. And then it might be somewhat of like oh man, we're, they're looking at us as brown terrorists from the Middle East, I was like, oh no, is that what we're going to get? And they didn't. I thought they got it perfectly, which was, hey, look, it doesn't matter what color you are. And this goes for white, black, brown, green, yellow, whatever. You have rights. You have rights, right? So they were like, oh, these are our rights. You need a warrant. Come back. Boom. Nailed it. Move on. We don't have to, everything doesn't have to be like a political point, you know what I mean? And a political statement. And I just really feel like they're nailing that aspect of it. And I'd really love to know from like a Pakistani viewer, are they just like that? The same way you're so like kind of invested because it's Jersey, you know, like I wonder how the Pakistani, like anyone from Pakistani, like, culture is like feeling about the show. Like if they're like, oh my God, that's like my family. Oh, that's what my family says. Oh, they do. So like, sorry, I'm kind of going on about this, but I think it's really cool. They did this thing in the last episode where her brother got married, right? And I don't remember if you remember the scene, but he came out and he was like, he makes a comment somewhere along the line of something like, hey, you were only supposed to hide like one pair of my shoes. Right. So that's got to be some kind of tradition, right? Some fun tradition for like Pakistani weddings or something like that. And they all kind of laughed. And I wonder if if you're Pakistani, are you like, oh man, yeah, we did that at my brother's wedding or my sister's wedding or something like that. Like I think that was something very specific to their culture that I thought was fun. And I'm on the outside. I have no idea what the hell they were meaning. And like a dumbass, I'm sitting there like, oh, they got him. I have no idea the joke, but
yeah, I think, and all the other, even the supporting characters are all good. Like Bruno, of course, you got Cameron now. You got her other friend. I can't think of her name, but her brother, her parents.
Yeah.
Oh, Nadia. Yeah, and I know like when they even years ago when they came out with the comic book, a lot of Pakistani girls like they even said, oh my God, like this is just like it's so great to see like a Pakistani woman, a girl like as a comic book and as a hero. Like it's something I can relate to, and I feel like even watching this, you can relate to it on both ends. You can relate to it from a religious standpoint, and you can also relate to it from a female standpoint. So, I think this is a great way to introduce these younger characters. This is the second time around where we have really young characters, with Kate Bishop. Spider-Man has been in the MCU now for a while as well. So you're definitely getting these younger actor and actresses who are, they were either nobodies or no names or maybe they're, but we're at least getting that. And I think with Ms. Marvel, it's going to be amazing. And, for obviously the people that have watched the first 3 episodes, at the end of episode 3, it looks like they're going to, overseas. It looks like they're going back, basically back to her country or, somewhere where they have been able to film this. So I know they did film it here in New Jersey. I saw like a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I know they also filmed it in Georgia, but it looks like these next couple episodes is going to be really where we're going to seeing some different stuff. And I know we still haven't even seen the introduction of Red Dagger, which we saw in the trailer.
Right. Yeah.
So
kind of surprised.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, with the whole, the Jinn and the clandestines, it's interesting. And even like the clandestines, that was like X-Men lore, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, but I don't think that's I don't think that's who they're referring to. But
yeah, I didn't think so.
I have my beliefs. I still think we could end up it could be Inhuman. I mean, obviously that blue hand looked pretty Kree-ish to me about that person buried in the rubble there.
Yep.
I don't think this is, I'm not entirely sure the Jinn is what the story is going to end up being. Like, I think it might be a little smoke screen right now. So,
all right.
I mean, if you tie it back to the Kree, it's easily tied to the Inhumans, and it makes more sense too if it's Kree to tie it to Ms. Marvel and the Marvels, right? So
yeah, or the Eternals, like the bracelet could be an Eternals thing, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's still some secrets out there that we haven't got yet. But man, the fight scene. I know you said you weren't a big fan of this episode. I'm not sure what aspects, but the fight scene where they had all the clandestine and they all had like different powers, like, or different weapons, the mace and the whip and like the spear. I thought that was really cool. Like that was pretty awesome fight scene. So
yeah, no, I thought it was, I thought they were all good episodes. They were solid. I just feel like this one kind of like was a little bit of a slowdown to me.
Okay.
Compared to the first 2, but every series is going to have that, but you'd figure at the halfway point. But of course, they leave it up to interpretation for the next. It sets the tone for the next 3 episodes, right?
Right.
That those people, the Jinn and the clandestines are not with her. They're really against her. And then, of course, with them now having to go to a completely different country, it's going to be a completely different show. And I feel like we also got that like in Moon Knight, even though I hated Moon Knight.
I'm glad that they didn't play the immediately when they introduced the clandestine characters, I was like, these are the bad guys. And like, I'm so glad it didn't go like 2 episodes of her like thinking they were the good guys, right? Like almost immediately they're like, that shit was actually really funny. It was like they had no patience. Like they've been around for hundreds of years, right? They're like or 100 years, or they're trying to get home.
Yeah.
This girl says like, "Hey, can we just wait a second? I'm going to do a little research." And they're like, "No more waiting." Like,
yeah,
wreck her, kill her whole family. I was like, "God damn!" And then that escalated.
no,
fast.
her what's her name? Amir wouldn't let her do the wedding. Like her and Cameron were talking. She's like, she's at a wedding. No, we need to do this now. It's like,
Right.
what's one more? Like, what's one night? Like, what's
It
one day?
escalated so fast. Like immediately, they're like, "Let's just go kill everyone at this wedding." Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, man, I'm enjoying it. It's good. So I'm excited to see how it ends. So now let's move on to the big show. Let's move on to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Finally ended 6 episodes. Just finished this past Wednesday, and we talked about it. We gave our mid-season review after the first 3 episodes. Myself, Justin, and PJ
Paradox Nerd,
and PJ Paradox Nerd. And we both kind of, or I think all 3 of us left off liking it. I think we all had, or maybe I was the only one who had a couple complaints. You liked it quite a bit, right?
Yes.
After 3 episodes.
First 3 episodes were good. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it. I had a few things I wasn't crazy about, but nail it, dude. Go into it. Let's hear what you think.
Oh man, it was amazing. Come on. Like the last 3 episodes were just great. Like you finally got to see Hayden Christensen come back. You finally got to see the fight that we all wanted. Because right in the 3rd episode, we didn't get the fight. Right. I don't think we didn't get the fight until the first fight until episode 4. Correct?
No, that was episode 3.
Oh, that was episode 3.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So even so, we got a lot more Reva. We got what we needed out of her. I think you at least learned a little bit more about her backstory, which is, I feel like if you didn't know that she wasn't the little kid in the first 5 minutes of that show, I mean, you're just, I guess, terrible to think that I don't know. It was like right there. It was right in front of your face. But yeah, Hayden Christensen, awesome. This past week's episode was amazing. I probably watched it like 4 times. Everything was just great about it. The cinematography, Ewan, Hayden, Deborah Chow, great job on everything. I can't think of the girl who plays Reva. I thought that's the things I didn't like. I didn't really like her redemption arc, but I get how like that's always been Star Wars. It's always about redemption. Right. My favorite thing, of course, like throughout all episodes, is obviously episode 6 is just the cinematography of how they did, like when Obi-Wan and Darth Vader / Anakin are speaking, like how the lightsabers kind of go from blue to red, and it's like back and forth, like when they're talking. Of course, the disfigured or dysfunctional like mouthpiece that Vader has.
Yeah, you could hear both the voices. You could hear Hayden's and you could hear James Earl Jones at the same time.
So great.
It's cool.
Obviously things that are said even at the end of the episode, like with what Obi-Wan says to Princess Leia, like that really makes you think more of Leia, right? Because like everyone always thinks, all right, well, the prequels or the original trilogy is about Luke, the prequels are about Anakin, and then the sequels are, we won't really talk about the sequels, but it's still kind of about Luke. But it's still Leia. Like Leia's still there. She is a Skywalker. So like you really don't get a lot of Leia, or you don't really feel for Leia until maybe like the beginning of Empire Strikes Back and kind of the end of Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. But like her as a little kid, how she changes, and then what Obi-Wan says to her, that how much of she is like her mother and how much she is like her father, like it really touches you, right? It really it gets you on the feels,
right?
The only things I feel like they could have done is they definitely, and obviously people do this all over YouTube, is they could have de-aged Hayden in like some of those fight scenes. That was even like with Order 66 and the fight between him and Obi-Wan.
The 40-year-old Padawan. That's like the best meme. Yeah, it was a little. It didn't make sense. Like it was just like, okay, it was kind of jarring to kind of almost like ruin the scene in a way. So I'm just like, dude, he looks older than. I feel bad for saying this, but he looks older than Ewan McGregor does.
Yes,
I don't think he aged that well, or maybe he doesn't do Botox and Ewan does, or hydration. Well,
Ewan's got like the beard and like his outfit kind of, he can hide himself a little bit. And right. I guess Ewan's been in a lot more movies, so he's a lot more visual. So
right.
Yeah. But that's it's definitely a lot better than Boba Fett. To me, it beats out Mando season 1 and season 2 so far. I think Star Wars is in a great spot. I think it's in the right direction. Obviously, there's rumors that there's a season 2. There's Ewan and Hayden said they would love to come back and do some stuff. There's rumors that they're going to do a Darth Vader spinoff. Hayden even said that, or in general, Disney Plus, like this was the number one episode 1 was the most number one watched show of any series so far on Disney Plus, which has been amazing. So that's my review. I would probably give it a 9 out of 10 just for like little tweaks. But what about you, man?
So, after the first 3 episodes, I was a little underwhelmed by it. I definitely think the last 3 closed it out. And always, it's always a little unfair. I know we do this for every show. We do a mid-season. It's always a little unfair to rate things because you don't know the whole arc of the show. And it's really not till the end that you see it. But I definitely think it closed out really, really well. I loved I loved when they went to the Fortress Inquisitorius and you got to see all that. I think one of my biggest complaints was honestly like after that episode, after like the 4th episode, we didn't get, and not to say that we needed it, and you never really want to like, jam pack the shows and take away characters, but we didn't get any more like 5th brother or 4th sister at all, and didn't really get to learn. I kind of wish maybe they would have spent maybe a little bit more time on explaining and like giving a history of the Inquisitors, because if you're one of the people who didn't watch the cartoons or you haven't done, you probably don't know who the hell they are really, like, and what this whole sister brother thing is. Maybe talking about that a little bit might have been a little better. I loved obviously the fight scenes and everything, and seeing Obi-Wan kind of come back to himself. I mean, that battle scene at the end between him and Darth Vader was just so epic, and the way they're both using the Force when he slices up his helmet. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's just great. I loved how
even when he fights Reva, just how powerful he is with the Force.
Right. It was hard to. There's really nothing there that like I didn't like. There's always little things that you could say, oh, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. But even the Easter eggs were great, which they didn't. It's always a thin line on like how do you pepper it with Easter eggs or do you not? You know what I mean? Like, you got to have a few here to appease the fans, but if you do too many, it's a bad deal too. So seeing the Stormtrooper was cool. Seeing what Forlom was awesome.
Well, that wasn't Forlom. That was like another droid. No, that was another droid. I forget the name of it. Deborah Trace said it wasn't the one from like the Bounty Hunters.
Oh, it wasn't Forlom and Zuckuss? Okay.
No, just the same model, but.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But it was great. So they didn't go super heavy into it. Everyone thought there was going to be Han Solo or Boba Fett was going to be seen, or even Cad Bane, which would have been all cool things. But at the same time, that stuff takes away from the main story. But I like the side characters. They set up O'Shea Jackson's character Roken as like maybe someone who we're going to see in the future as like a
Cassian show,
the fledgling, maybe in Cassian as like a fledgling member of the Rebels. We'll see, dude. I hope they do another one. It is tricky. What's so tricky about like the Vader stuff is obviously it's Hayden Christensen and it's voiced by James Earl Jones. So it's like, damn, like if you're the actor, it's like, I don't know, it kind of sucks for him in a way. Like you don't really get to talk, and you're just like walking around in the Vader suit. Maybe it's cool. I don't know. Maybe it's like,
well, there was like 3. I read that there was 3 actors in the suit. One being Hayden, and then there's 2 others
for like
some for fights, some for for just for everything. So
I mean, like, and not like how much of it is really him acting? You know what I mean? Like, how much is it really him? Outside of the fans being like, oh, that's Hayden Christensen. Not really, probably. So, but yeah, it's great, dude. It's great to see everyone back. I would have liked some more flashback scenes with Hayden. And maybe we'll get that more. Like you said, we get a sequel. Obviously, seeing Palpatine was amazing, and finally seeing Qui-Gon show up was awesome.
But I feel like he was definitely coming. Like things that you knew, like
at it the whole time.
I feel like you definitely had to see Qui-Gon without a doubt. The Emperor, that was kind of like,
I didn't
maybe, but that was really cool. I really thought, to be honest, at the end of the show, instead of seeing Obi-Wan, like I thought it was going to end with on Alderaan. And the ship that came would have been Mon Mothma, and that kind of would have like set up for like Andor.
I thought the same thing when the door opened when he says, "Oh, we're doing something else," and I was like, "Oh, Mon Mothma's going to walk out."
See, like that's where I thought they were going to go, because that kind of sets you up for Andor. Like you're like, "Oh, who's this?" And
right,
kind of like talk about the beginnings of the rebellion.
See,
I think obviously the worst thing, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me, is like when they're trying to escape from the Fortress Inquisitorius, is like when he's like got her in the
cloak,
in his jacket, yeah, and there's like 4 legs, like
all the running scenes were horrible. I mean, there's some really bad, like there's some bad parts. It's just like, oh, okay, but I would have rather done without Palpatine. I would have rather seen like Darth Maul cameo than Palpatine, to be honest. But yeah, Reva, look, do I think what I think her name Moses Ingram? Do I think she's like the greatest actress? No, I don't. I don't think she was amazing. I don't think she was horrible. Does she deserve all the hate? Hell no. Like,
oh God, no.
Not at all, dude. And like, just because if it is because of her race, I mean, good God, like, move on. But I thought she did a good job. I thought it was a decent character. It showed a good. What I liked about her is she's kind of a foil to Anakin in a way. So, she's kind of working against him and she's struggling to come back. And like you said, it's the whole core of Star Wars is going back and forth between the good and the bad. Like, hey, a good guy can break bad, but a bad guy can also break good as well, So I thought
that's what Star Wars always is. It's always
exactly
redemption.
Yeah. And so I liked her character. It'd be cool to see where else she goes. You could do something fun with her. I mean, look, at the very least, keep in mind all this era, we don't have many Jedi. So like you don't expect to see Obi-Wan popping up everywhere in every damn show. So, maybe we get some of the ones that were hinted at in the show showing up. But
Quinlan,
yeah. And then, but having Reva kind of come back is like having another Jedi, dude. So I'm cool with it.
And there is a rumor, and this just dropped yesterday actually, there's a rumor that Cal Kestis, they're possibly making a Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Disney Plus TV series, which is perfect because Cameron what's his name? Monahan, who obviously portrays Cal Kestis, is it's the same thing. Like he can come and be in the live action show, so it's like perfect.
Dude, I know that would be so awesome. And they haven't really said much about it. Like, are they just going to recreate the whole plot from Fallen Order?
No, I think they would at least. I would think by the time if this comes out, I would think Jedi Fallen Order 2 or what's it called, Jedi Survivor. I think it'll be like it would be after that, like because this is like 5 years. Because like Jedi Fallen Order is 5 years after this.
No, 5 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's 5 years. It's in between.
It's between a little bit before this, but then Survivor. The thing is though, if you do storylines after Survivor, you could be ruining the storyline of Survivor.
Yeah, I guess you're gonna have to see because we know in the trailer for Jedi Survivor that you do see the Grand Inquisitor.
Right. So, yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see a Cal Kestis. And it's interesting because obviously even this year that for Disney Plus or the Disney parks, they did the Cal Kestis lightsaber. Like, why would you come up with that?
Right.
You weren't gonna do something about it.
I mean, you could redo the whole story. I mean, I'm actually like replaying the game right now for like the 5th time or something. But trying to get that platinum trophy, son. But yeah, I mean, you could redo it. It's a good story. He's hunting for the holocron to try to find Force sensitive children. He runs into a dark Jedi. You got Wookiees. You got Saw Gerrera shows up. Obviously Vader at the end, and you have the Inquisitors. So, yeah, man, that would be great. I'd love to see this.
So, what's your final review on your final score?
I think I'm going to go with a 9 out of 10 as well for you, same as you did. It's just about perfect. I think it struggled the first couple episodes. Close to being a 10 out of 10. So
glad this wasn't a movie, right? Glad it was more of a series.
Yeah.
Because this was talked about years ago, like way before the whole merger and when they were going to do like spotlight character movies. Like they were supposed to do a Boba Fett show and they were or movie. Then they were supposed to do Obi-Wan because obviously doing Solo was like their first one, but obviously Solo didn't get great reviews. But I always go back to that. It was terrible marketing. It came out right before Avengers, but I love that. I love that movie. So,
yeah, I agree. A movie, they would have had to change the plot. This plot wasn't strong enough for a movie. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they're hunting Leia and we're running away and we're not, because nothing was really accomplished. Think about it. I mean, nothing was actually really accomplished in this movie besides kind of Obi-Wan becoming better. You couldn't do just a standalone movie unless you were planning on doing multiple movies of Obi-Wan in between,
Well, everything needs to just get cut. Like there's a lot of like added stuff that can obviously get moved away. Yeah,
for sure. So cool. So let's move into our second to last topic of the night. But what we always do on every show, what we are currently reading. And Justin, why don't you kick it off?
Well, this week is definitely, I'd say, a little DC heavy for myself. Quick honorable mention, and we've talked about the series Batman the Knight, of course, Chip Zdarsky. We've got issue number 6 of 10. It's just getting better and better every month when this comes out. But the title that I'm currently reading, and because I really didn't read a lot of indie stuff this week, which I need to catch up on, but I really enjoyed the Dark Crisis Young Justice. It's
really,
it's a 6-issue miniseries. It's got the current Young Justice team post what happens with the Justice League, and we don't know what happens, but all of a sudden the original Young Justice team from the 90s, you got Bart Allen, you got Superboy, and Tim Drake Robin, who we just spoke about last week, all somehow wake up and they're in it's almost like a different universe. Like, you really don't know,
right?
But it's really cool because they have their original costumes from like the 90s, and then at the end of the issue, they get the 90s version of Wonder Girl, Cassie Sidmark, who is also kind of part in the present of what's going on. So we don't know the whole storyline, but I really like how they're doing this series, which is like in the 90s, how Young Justice was. Like the way they look, of course, like their costumes are badass. It kind of takes place like where things have already happened, like the death of Superman happened, and Batman got his back broken. So all this stuff is like, there's certain things, but then there's all of a sudden they kind of say like, there's nothing past this point. So what happens to this? So 6-issue miniseries, totally enjoying it because of course it's some DC stuff. So, and it kind of teases you like, where are they? Are they in another universe? Is there somebody who sent them there? But of course it's called Dark Crisis for a reason, so it's going to be dark. What about you? That's my 2 books.
So honorable mentions, I had, where are they? So my honorable mentions, one is Immortal X-Men. This issue was really, really awesome, focused on destiny and kind of hinting at a lot of things going on here in the future of the X-Men. Awesome issue. I also want to give a shout out to Star Wars Crimson Reign number 5. I mean, as the miniseries and as like these little, I don't know, arcs, if you will, during Star Wars, this volume 2, we had the Bounty Hunters one, which was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not horrible, something right. It was just stupid. Like, it was
first part. Issue 1 was good, and then it got stupid.
Yeah, it just felt like nothing. But Crimson Reign's been really good. I've really liked this arc across all the titles, and I like where it's going with it. So that's my second honorable mention. But the book,
it's leading to the next trilogy.
Right.
Charles sold Crimson Empire is how he's ending it.
Yeah, something like that. And I think it's in September, I think, or August. I think it comes out. So my pick of the week, though, is kind of a strange book that I saw on the shelf, and I was like, let me check this out. It's called 7 Sons by Robert Windham and Kelvin Mao, and drawn by Jai Lee from Image Comics. So weird story, man. So apparently it's almost like, okay, how do I explain this book? So it's almost like there's this prophet, right? It's kind of cultish in a way, religious. This prophet predicts 21 years ago, that 7 sons of the Savior of God, 7 sons of God will be born. So seven kids are born on the same day, 7 boys, same day, same time across the globe. And then basically 21 years later, you'll find out who the second son of God is. And along the way, a bunch of them have been killed. All of them except for one have been killed by like other religious organizations, or who they deem as like they're calling terrorists and agents of the devil. And it's really interesting. There's kind of like a little twist at the end, but I thought it was cool. It's something different. I'm actually definitely looking forward to keep reading it. So, if you got something new, you see it in the shop. Obviously, it's got, like you said, cover art by Jai Lee, which you can't not recognize. But yeah, 7 Sons, Part 1, issue number 1. I don't know if it says Part 1, so I don't know if they're each going to be like, each issue is going to be a part or not. But check it out, Image Comics. It was good.
All right. Yeah, I think I saw that, and I was debating and picking it up, but there was just a lot of stuff that came out this week that I still have to read I didn't read Silver Coin. I didn't read Something That's Killing the Children. Right. There's just too much stuff that I need to catch up on.
Yep. So that's my pick of the week. So one more thing. We're going to end the show like we typically do these days because there's so much news with Miller Watch.
Wait, Ezra did you say Miller Watch?
Miller Watch.
Oh,
it's hard to see him. He's so fast. You know,
I know. I got something for that. Hold on.
Let's hear it. It's Miller time, and I'm feeling fine. Perfect. Nailed it. So more news from Ezra Miller's shit show of a life. So the title of the article is Ezra Miller accused of housing 3 children, their mother, at cannabis farm with loose firearms. So basically, it looks like Ezra Miller had befriended some woman when he was in Hawaii who was in, I'm not going to make a judgment here. I'm just going to say what the article says, like in a violent and abusive relationship with her ex. And he took her to a home that he has in Vermont, some kind of like a homestead farm type environment. And they've been living there. And it's a safe environment for them to heal and do all these things. It's weird, man. It very much comes across like cultish in a way. But obviously, the father of the children is making complaints and saying that there's firearms all over the place, that the 1-year-olds had a bullet in their mouth, that there's like stacks of guns, assault weapons, and rifles lying around the living room. Some of these were propped up next to piles of stuffed animals. Another troubling allegation mentions frequent and heavy use of marijuana in the children's presence with little concern about proper ventilation. So Miller has reportedly cultivated an unlicensed cannabis farm on their property with far more plants than Vermont allows private citizens to own. So obviously there's a lot going on with this family and the legal troubles between the mother and the father and domestic violence and whatnot. DCF, the Department for Children and Families, was sent out to do a wellness check. They told the father the children looked good, but the worker also mentioned they still had more work to do to kind of look into the situation. So obviously these are new allegations that are coming in the wake of the 2 other recent instances involving Miller accused of endangering children. So just a reminder on previous Miller watches. In June, the parents of an 18-year-old activist filed for an order of protection against Miller, saying the actor had used violence, intimidation, threat of violence, fear, paranoia, delusions, and drugs to control their child since they were 12 years old, though the activist denied the claims and defended Miller. Since then, authorities have been unable to locate Miller to serve them the court order on the protection order. And then most recently, a mother and her 12-year-old child were granted a harassment prevention order against Miller, who allegedly threatened their neighbor and behaved inappropriately toward the child. So, needless to say, I know a lot of articles have come out lately that Warner Brothers pretty much just came forward and saying, yeah, we're done with the dude. Like we're moving past him for the future of the Flash. We will not be continuing the relationship with Ezra Miller. Now, what does that mean for the movie? Jess and I still have to decide what our bet is going to be on whether it's going to come out or not. I do think so. Jess and I had I think we talked about this on like a private text or something. Look, they've invested a lot of money in this. And I think at this point, they're kind of like, oh, shit. Okay, we'll just show it. We'll show the movie and then we'll move forward. I think that's what they're hoping. They keep saying in the articles, they're hoping things kind of like die down. Right. And so the public so the movie can just like come out real quick and they can forget about it. Obviously, attention span of Americans are very low. But if this dude kills someone or if this dude kills himself, you will never see this movie in the theaters. I guarantee you. I mean, at best, it's coming out on HBO Max as a direct release. But if something happens, no, hell no, they're not going to play this movie.
Well, here's the thing. Did Heath Ledger die before Dark Knight? I can't remember.
He died, yes, before it came out. But drug overdose.
Yeah, I guess it's
a little different. I mean, he's not out here harassing and murdering.
No, I get it. It's a completely different thing. And the times we live in is completely different too, right. I feel.
Yeah. And he was a beloved person. He had no history of anything, Dude, if Ezra Miller kills someone, oh my God, dude, this movie's never coming out.
Oh, you say if he kills someone? I thought you meant if he dies, like he kills himself. I'm sorry.
It depends.
I misheard that.
I guess it depends on how we're sitting here talking about his death. It depends on how he kills himself. If he if it's an OD, yeah, they might still show the movie. But if it's something violent, I don't think so, man. This dude's toast, bro. This guy's career is donezo. This guy needs help though. Like, I mean, not sitting here talking shit on the guy. There's something going on here. He needs some help.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild.
So that's all we've got this week, everybody, on the Comic-Con podcast. Thanks for joining us for episode 25. As always, you can find us anywhere on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, as well as Amazon Prime Music. And share with your friends, like us on Instagram, and follow us on both Instagram, either our personal Instagrams or the Comic-Con podcast Instagram, or just go for all three. Go for the hat trick. So that's all I got. Justin, anything coming up?
Yeah, got a Whatnot sale, of course. Saturday night, running all Darth Vader Volume 1 to 25. Of course, you could follow me. Same thing, same name, Nemesis_Prime on Whatnot. And I also may be checking out an interesting comic thing going out over in Brooklyn, New York. If you're listening to this early enough and you're in the area, over at Brooklyn, New York, they have the 5 Points Festival. They started this a few years ago, pre-COVID. And I remember I went to like the first one, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of like indie stuff. It's like artists. They have like designer toys. They have some art, some everything. Like they do some little comics. It's not really big into comics, but it's like posters, street art. They do. They have like craft beer. They have food trucks. So it's pretty cool. It's definitely like part of like the nerd community. So I'm trying to get out there maybe Saturday or Sunday. Because Brooklyn's not that far from me, and it's always a good time if you just go out to Brooklyn. So 5 Points Festival over in Brooklyn, New York. So if you're somewhere in the area, go check it out.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, that's all we've got this week, and we will see you guys next week. Take it easy.
Peace out.